I would like to shout out, excuse me. I would like to thank my assassin for sending me this story right here that's coming out of Seattle, Washington. And let me tell you something right now. This guy right here is extremely lucky to be alive considering the lie that was put onto him by this palm-colored male. And I'm going to show his picture probably towards the end of this article so you can see exactly who the hell he is. For basically telling this lie to the police that he was trying to kill him when that truly wasn't even the case. And all this guy was doing right here, if you see him holding a newspaper, that's part of his job. See, one of two things could have happened. One, this guy could have lost his life, lost his job at the least, or he could have lost his life at the most. So I'm going to go ahead and read this article so you can get more context. And I'm going to also show you the picture of the person, or the piece of shit, I should say, that causes all of this to happen. Pierce County Sheriff Ed Troyer sparked a massive police response in late January after confronting a black man driving near his home. Mind you, listen to that. Pierce County Sheriff. He's a county sheriff who did this. He's not some just random person. He's a sheriff of a county that did that made up this lie about this man, whose name is, by the way, his name is Cedric Altheimer. Almost like Alzheimer's, but with a T. They said Ed Troyer sparked the massive police response in late January after confronting a black man driving near his home, telling a 911 dispatcher the man threatened to kill me, an allegation he retracted upon questioning by Tacoma police. The man was a newspaper carrier on his regular route. The 24-year-old carrier, Cedric Altheimer, said the early morning encounter on January 27th left him afraid for his life and angry at Troyer, who was driving an unmarked personal SUV and didn't identify himself as law enforcement. Troyer, who is white, said he did not racially profile Altheimer, which is a goddamn lie. He said he began following the carrier because he saw a driver he believed was behaving suspiciously in his neighborhood in Tacoma's West End. There is nothing to do at times. Of course, he's going to come back and say that to try to clear himself. But at the end of the day, even if it wasn't about race, which clearly it definitely was, you still made up a lie that this guy was doing something he wasn't supposed to be doing when all he was doing was working. See, this is the thing right here. And we've heard so many stories like this where black people work in delivery services, whether it's delivering mail or what, mainly mail or anything like that. And you have these palm-colored little pieces of shit want to call the police for every goddamn thing off of the guy as a quote-unquote suspicion. Every single time. And the thing is, they're never really truly suspicious about anything. They just want to see a black person get hemmed up. That's why I say they are not far removed from their ancestors. Because that's something their ancestors in recent times were known to do. The newly elected sheriff expressed surprise Tacoma police had written an incident report about the encounter, noting Altheimer was not arrested. I thought they solved it that night, he said. Troyer's call to a 911 dispatcher, which came in shortly after 2 a.m. on a Wednesday, spurred an urgent countywide alert that sent more than 40 officers from multiple agencies rushing toward the scene, public records show. Most were called off after Tacoma police arrived. This one call this dude made caused 40 people to come and swarm this guy. 40 for one person. They made it seem like this guy was the goddamn Unabomber. For one person. That's why I say he's extremely lucky to be alive. Troyer is a 35-year veteran from the Pierce County Sheriff's Department who for years served as the agency's public face and media spokesperson before being elected sheriff in November. His statements about what happened that night contain some inconsistencies, at times contradicting his record, call to an emergency dispatcher, and diverging sharply on key points from what Altheimer says happened. Early on January 27th, Altheimer said was working his regular delivery route with his Geo Prism in Tacoma's West End when he said he noticed a big white SUV following him. I'm throwing papers out the window left and right. Both windows are down, and I see this SUV hit the block. Alzheimer said. He said he didn't know it was the county sheriff behind the wheel of the unmarked Chevy Tahoe. And see, that's another thing. They like to do these trails of people behind people in these unmarked vehicles and not let their presence be known. You can tell this is a guy who's on a serious power trip, because look at all the stuff that he's gained before he got this position, like leading up to him having this position as sheriff. The two passed each other in the SUV, then turned around to follow him. Alzheimer said he said the SUV tracked him as he stopped at the houses, as he does 6 nights a week, delivering newspapers, including the News Tribune, Wall Street Journal, and the Seattle Times. I continue what I'm doing because I'm working. I'm not doing any harm to the neighborhood. I work here every night, Alzheimer said, adding that he had been followed on his route before. Troyer later told police he'd been at home when he heard a noise and went to investigate, according to the Tacoma police incident report. Irritated that the SUV kept tracking him, Alzheimer placed a newspaper in a plastic cylinder at a home, he said, and he walked over to the SUV to ask why he was being followed. He said he thought Troyer looked familiar but didn't recognize him as the county's top law enforcement officer. And here's the thing, I bet you he didn't announce himself as such either. He probably didn't tell him. So I asked him, "Who are you?" Alzheimer said. He said Troyer didn't identify himself, as I predicted, but asked what he was doing in the neighborhood and called me all types of names, accusing him of being a porch pirate, a slang for someone who steals packages from porches. Alzheimer said he asked whether he was being targeted as a black man driving an older car. He said he didn't disclose he was a newspaper carrier because he said he felt it was not the stranger's business to know. He says Troyer responded that he is not racist and said that his wife is black. He's one of those white guys. Let's see. I said, if you had a problem and you feel like you're in so much in danger, then you should just call the police unit and bring him out here. So then he makes a comment. He's like, "Oh, I got 4 cars on the way." Alzheimer recalled Troyer saying, "I'm like, congratulations." Not once did Troyer identify himself as law enforcement officer, Alzheimer said. The Tacoma incident report said Alzheimer knew who Troyer was, but Alzheimer said he only recognized Troyer's name after a Tacoma officer told him the county sheriff was driving the SUV. That's the crazy thing. I never did threaten him. I was just asking questions. I'm like, "Are you a cop?" he said. In an interview, Troyer denied having any such conversation with Alzheimer. "I didn't even know he was black until he was out of the car and the cops came. I never talked to him. I never talked to the guy," he said. "I couldn't even tell you that he had looked all that black," Troyer said. This guy is just spewing out BS point after BS point after BS point. He also denies saying his wife is black. She is Pacific Islander. He added that in his neighborhood, "I am the only white man within 5 houses and I have a black grandson that lives with me." Are y'all hearing? Are you hearing all the BS? So now he denies having a black wife and that his wife is now not black. She's now Pacific Islander and that he has a black grandson. Like what? This guy's all over the place. He can't even get his lies together. The final confrontation occurred, Alzheimer said, after he returned to his car and drove off, only to be followed by Troyer again. At that point, he said he wheeled his car around, leaving the two men facing each other at North 27th Street and Deidre Circle. Alzheimer said at that point, Alzheimer snapped photos of Troyer's SUV. Amid the standoff, Troyer called 911 dispatchers saying Alzheimer was making threats to kill him, according to an incident report by Tacoma police officer Chad Lawless, who responding to the call. Audio of Troyer's call released to the Seattle Times after a public records request reveals him asking for help, with sometimes conflicting statements. "Hey, it's Troyer," his call begins. "I'm at 27th and Deidre in Tacoma in North End, about 2 blocks from my house, and I caught someone in my driveway who just threatened to kill me, and I blocked him in. He's here right now." So now he's adding more and embellishing more on the lie to make it seem like he's truly a victim. Later in the 911 call, Troyer said the other driver had him blocked in. He described Alzheimer's 1995 Geo Prism as beat up and homeless looking. He also said on the call the car had gone up his driveway, but later said there was no room in the driveway. So they actually believe all of this crap this dude is saying. Why? Because he's a sheriff? This guy has more holes in his story than Swiss cheese. On the call, Troyer said, "I'm trying to be polite to him, but he says I'm a racist and wants to kill me." Troyer calls for help was dispatched at the highest priority and was broadcast to all law enforcement agencies in the South Sound. According to the incident report, in all 42 units from multiple agencies, including sheriff's deputies and state troopers, initially responded, according to a dispatcher's recorded conversation about the call with an officer later that day. All he had to do was say certain triggering talking points, and they sent the whole damn squad and then some out there for one person. Again, that's why I said this black man on your screen is very lucky to be alive. This guy could have got killed, and this Dub S would have been responsible, and he would have went home smiling, know that he got another N-word off the street. I didn't expect that big of a response, Troyer said during an interview. The dispatcher told the officer that Troyer had previously had prompted an officer's need help call. There's only one other type of call that warrants a higher emergency response. That's for a lahar, a catastrophic mudslide that could be triggered if Mount Rainier erupted. When police arrived in the neighborhood, they found Alzheimer seated in his car in the middle of the street facing Troyer, who was in his Tahoe about 50 feet away, according to the report. Alzheimer said he was upset and shouted at officers, "I'm a black man in a white neighborhood," and commented on the number of officers who had arrived at the scene, according to the police report. In an interview, Alzheimer said he was both angry and frightened by the sudden rush of police cars from multiple directions and was careful to keep his hands in sight. One of the officers had drawn a gun. "That definitely scared me. I was really shocked," Alzheimer said. "I'm yelling, 'What are you guys here for? What am I doing wrong? You guys are trying to arrest a paper carrier,' Alzheimer said. 'These police officers just wasted a gallon of gas speeding over here for what? I'm giving the people the news and I'm going home. I've got 5 kids. At the officer's command, Alzheimer got out of the car and was frisked for weapons. He explained he was a newspaper carrier and he gave the police permission to search his car. The back seat of the car was filled with newspapers," the police report noted. Troyer told Lawless, the Tacoma officer, he'd been at home asleep when he heard something outside and saw someone driving in and out of the driveway in the area. According to the incident report, he got in his car and attempted to make contact, the report states. When Lawless asked Troyer whether he'd been threatened, as his call to dispatchers repeatedly claimed, the sheriff advised that Alzheimer had never threatened him. So there it is. First he says that he threatened to kill him and everything like that. Now he comes out and admits that he never threatened him. And said he had seen no weapons. Still, Troyer said he was certain that Alzheimer wanted to fight, according to the report. So first he went from wanting to kill you to now wanting to fight you. Then he went from threatening to kill you to he didn't threaten you. He was in your driveway, now he's not in your driveway. See, and the thing is, I bet you nothing's going to happen to this guy. Watch as I continue to read this article. I bet you nothing's going to happen to him. In an interview, Troyer said Alzheimer was yelling and screaming. I couldn't even tell what he was saying. You heard what the hell he was saying. He said after police arrived, I was wanting to ramp it down and I wasn't about to get him in trouble or make a bigger deal out of it. After conferring with Troyer and the Tacoma police sergeant, Lawless released Alzheimer. All he had to do was calmly say, "Hey, I am delivering newspapers," Troyer said. Well, that's the thing. You didn't identify yourself and you just following him and you suspiciously. He went over to ask you who you were and you didn't even identify yourself. And you just kept continuing to follow him. Like this guy was looking to get some shit popped off. He was probably looking for them to fire. Listen, he was looking for this black man to get murdered that day. That's what he was looking forward to. That's what he was looking for. Alzheimer said he told family members about the run-in and had wanted to file a complaint of some kind, but was not sure about how to go about it. His mother, Renita Williams, who also delivered newspapers, confirmed her son had been upset and immediately told her about the incident. I felt he was being harassed for all those cops to come up, she said. Neither Alzheimer nor Williams sought out media attention, but they were willing to share the story after being contacted by the Seattle Times last week. While Troyer does not get a newspaper delivered to his home, some of his neighbors do. So the next 2 nights after the incident, Alzheimer said he jokingly tossed the paper of the News Tribune on the sheriff's driveway. He didn't subscribe, but I wanted him to. I said, "Hey, come join my business so you know I'm a trustworthy man of your neighborhood," Alzheimer said. I wouldn't have tossed that damn thing, and if I was going to toss a newspaper at his door, it would have been dipped in shit and set on fire, and then it would have landed on his door. But that is some bullshit. Like I said, this guy is extremely lucky to be alive. That sheriff needs to be fired. He needs to be removed and completely tossed aside. I know it's asking for a lot according to them, and we know it probably will not happen, but it just needs to. That is absolutely ridiculous. Like, this guy could have easily got this man killed. And let me pause it right quick. This is him. This is the sheriff, this Troyer, Ed Troyer. This is the one who caused all of that shit to happen. This is him right here. I almost forgot to put his picture up there, but this is the guy who was responsible for almost getting this black man killed over some nonsense that didn't even happen. But he pulled a whole Karen. He said this man was threatening to kill me. He said all this, that, and the third. They come there and they ask him, is that what he said? To, for confirmation. And he said none of that stuff happened. And sure enough, when I got to this article, I'm reading, I don't see anything there that says that he's going to be reprimanded for his actions. None. See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. This is the issue we have with Palm Color as a collective in this establishment known as the U.S. All this guy was doing was his job. He can't even do that without the whole, oh, they look suspicious. It's like I tell you, black people, especially black men, are always hit with that target of suspicion. Oh, he looks suspicious. What is he doing out here? They shouldn't be out here this time of night. What type of car are they driving? And all he was doing was his job. And this guy, the person who delivered Cedric Altheimer, he said he's always done this. But what was so different about this time around? But yeah, I knew nothing was gonna happen to him. They probably gonna let him continue remaining to be the sheriff, and he's going to continue going about his day. This guy just proved that he should not be in that position. Because the fact that he was a sheriff and he basically laid it on thick and had all those units come out there for one person. Not one unit, but 40 different units from various agencies. They made it seem like I said this guy, like this Cedric Altheimer guy, was a terrorist, threatening to blow up a whole damn block. The fact that that many came out for one person, though. Like I said, it is dangerous being a black man in America for our own safety, and because we have to deal with people like this one that you see in this picture. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. If you haven't done so already, make sure that you text the number that's pinned down in the comments below so you can receive notifications every time I upload a new video.